Sounds wonderful. So, didn't mean to get all intense on you right away here. So,
Once again, can you repeat who she is? Can you repeat
okay.
who
So, Carrie, why don't you repeat back yourself, your organization, etc., just to reinforce
that
that
to
with
this
people.
wonderful point.
Sure. Well, my name is Carrie Gray, and I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Green Insurance. We are the future of healthcare, as I mentioned, in this country. We are introducing 21st century healthcare, which is basically all-encompassing natural to conventional medicine because each has a place. Clearly, conventional medicine has a very important place in trauma, emergencies, and urgent situations, and certain other kinds of medical needs. However, most people have a larger need for what health insurance is not providing, and that is a unlimited access to natural medicine. And this is really where health and wellness are. Statistically, the numbers don't lie, and the numbers say that 7 out of 10 deaths that are caused each year are from preventable, treatable diseases. And this is what the conventional model does not serve. It creates what's called managed care, and this is where big pharma comes in to make people prescription dependent, and we are here to serve people who feel that that's not what they want. They don't want managed care, prescription dependency. They want health and wellness, and this is what this community movement is about.
Okay. So, Carrie, tell us about your background and how you got involved in this a little bit.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Well, I am a cancer survivor of nearly 30 years. When I was 25 years old, I'm giving away my age, I was diagnosed terminal with liver cancer. And when I was diagnosed after going in for a physical, I was given, I was just basically told to go home and get my things together. I'm sorry, chemo and radiation can't help you, you're too far advanced. And as if chemo and radiation would have helped anyways, we see what the long-term survival of chemo and radiation is, and it's very dismal. So I call it The Day Cancer Saved My Life, and it's a book that I'm actually writing, and I can talk about that later. But it's really how this shock happened that really woke me up to a much bigger picture, much of epic proportions. But my personal journey was, I was a young mother, and I just couldn't accept that I was going to leave my children at such a vulnerable age. They were 1, 3, and and 8 or 9 at the time. Mm-hmm. So, this is just no time. No child is prepared to lose their mom, but at that age they sure aren't. So, anyways, I prayed for wisdom to know how to handle my situation. And what I found was over the years, I've had a series of epiphanies that I've come upon. And at first one started with, what if there's something the doctor just doesn't know? And I felt, of course, there was no internet back then, and research was very, very hard to come by. And so I felt that I really just needed to network with people that I knew. And I just started asking everyone. I really didn't want to talk about the cancer. I just wanted to know if anyone had some suggestions on things they felt like were really effective. Well, that took me down a rabbit hole. And in that search, I ended up at a naturopath who operated out of her home. Didn't have a sign. She was in the residential area. You would have never known this woman was there, but she was amazing. And I had no belief in natural medicine at the time because, well, frankly, I'd been very much ostracized for even trying to go this route. So, but when she also diagnosed me or diagnosed me with liver cancer, I knew that she knew nothing of what I already knew coming into the situation, and she really caught my attention because of the fact that she was using kinesiology, and she came up with the same exact thing that the medical test had already confirmed. So that was basically how I became aware that natural medicine has a very profound effect in a person's life, because then for the months thereafter, I was investing thousands of dollars in this protocol that she said that she believed when we originally met that she help me save my life if the following were agreed upon. She said, first of all, you have to make big changes in your life. And I said, okay. And she said, you have health insurance. And I said, yes. And she said, well, it's not going to pay for any of this, and it's going to be expensive. So if you'll agree to this, I'll help you. And I said, okay. So that's basically what created, again, a bigger and bigger awareness of what's going on, that my health insurance was not going to help me, that this was going to cost a lot of money, and that I didn't have much time, so it was really critical mass at this point. So I took this venture on, having no idea that I was going to even be successful, wanting to at least give my children the legacy to know that their mom tried everything. That was what I really thought this was going to go into, that I would lose my battle, but at least my kids would know that mom exhausted all options and she really did try. Well, within a year, I was going back to my doctor, and I wanted new tests just to see if we were making any progress. So this is where the next shift happened, because when I told my doctor what I'd been doing, or excuse me, first of all, she was shocked I was alive. Then I was shocked when I told her what I had been doing, and she didn't want to hear about it.
Oh, so you were referring to the conventional doctor you went back to?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes, I was. I went back to my original, doctor that diagnosed me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, more bad news, which is we're going to run new blood work. You need to get prepared for the worst. You need to get your final arrangements. I don't know what you're doing. You need to basically get in touch with reality. That's really what she said to me. So a few more days of anxiety. I waited for the results. When they called me back in, now it got even more strange, and that is she didn't want to make eye contact with me. So sitting awkwardly in her examination room, I started to nervously talk about what I'd been doing again, and she again stopped me and said, I don't want to hear this.
Okay.
So I just sat there waiting for her to basically give me the bad news. And instead, with great remiss, she said, I don't want to know what you've been doing, but I'm here to tell you, the liver does not do this by itself. Congratulations, you're cancer-free. And she wanted to escape over as quickly as possible. And I said, hold on. What?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, yeah, you're cancer-free. And she left. And, it was just amazing to me that this is the way the good news was delivered. And obviously it wasn't what she wanted to see or hear. But that is what really cemented my belief that there is protocols that are not part of conventional medicine that are life-saving, and how important is that? But then there was a next awareness, and that was the fact that I submitted my receipts to my insurance company. I thought, well, they probably won't pay for everything, but we'll see we'll give them a chance. That's just basically what I thought. We'll give them a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately, I got a response letter back thanking me for my receipts, but to inform me clearly that my choices were out of coverage and that they were unproven. And I just found the irony of that what was unproven and denied was the thing that saved my life. And the truth of the matter is, horses don't pay premiums, so I couldn't understand why the insurance company wouldn't have been glad for a fraction of what it would have cost for chemo and radiation, that they weren't glad that I was still there to make those premiums. But, that's what a logical person would think, and that's not how the insurance industry works.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
that started me on this new path, and I'll stop there, but that's basically my history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I see it every day. It's crazy. It makes more sense to me that they would cover what helped you be treated and improve, and actually would save them a ton of money, rather than going the more expensive route, which is what typically it is with the conventional approach. And I see this all over the map. I mean, cancer is one of the areas. And where is the wonderful proof about chemo anyway? This unproven thing versus versus chemo. You know, chemo is not, we don't see tremendous results with chemo, you know, so anyway. So, all right, so this was obviously part of the motivation behind development of green insurance and the plans. So how did you incorporate your thoughts into how the plans would work and what choices to give?
Yeah, well, basically what had happened, I'll just kind of connect the dots before I get there. Basically what happened was I had this epiphany that I thought, well, the simple answer here is just to find alternative medicine health insurance. And that turned into another rabbit hole that took me decades of searching, and I never found anything. What I did find was interesting conversations with many an insurance professional that said, wow, that's a great idea. I don't know any company doing it. If you ever find it, let me know because I'd like it too. But honestly, I got involved. I became an insurance professional several years ago, and it was in my career of insurance that I started studying insurance. And when I did is when I realized that this could have been done long ago. It hasn't been done, and it needs to be done. And with my history of loving alternative medicine, frustrated, excuse me, with a system that ignores it, and knowing now how insurance works and its inner workings. Also, being in the industry, I'm seeing that it's not about serving people, it's about self-interest, not public interest. It's really when I just kind of started realizing that this is just not for me. So when Obamacare came out, let me just back up and say this. I launched Greensurance, the website, back originally in, I think it was June or July of 2013. Well, in October of 2013 is when Obamacare came out. So I had a few months of having this website out with this message, and basically at the time, it was to see if there would be enough people that could solidify the fact that there needed to be an ancillary, it's called an insurance, or a like a specialized extra policy that you could buy that would just be for alternative medicine. That was my original purpose of this. So Greensurance was launched just to see if there was enough feedback from people that were looking for something like this through the search engine, and to build a list so I could take it back to the insurance company and say, look, we've got a need. Insurance is called a needs-based industry. So we have a need that's not being met, and let's create a product to serve these people. And when I continued to do the statistics or community research, the statistics were overwhelming. 158 million people they're estimating that are spending collectively over $100 billion in natural medicine is clearly a demographic that you would think an insurance company would be part of. But when Obamacare came out is when I realized that this was a real interesting opportunity. I could see where we were heading, and it was great news, even though it seemed to be a bit confusing to people and obviously caused a great deal of paranoia and whatnot. People were very frustrated because their policies were getting canceled, but I could see that there was a real shift happening, and I felt that an interesting comment the president made when he introduced, or when he passed legislation, he said, we are looking for creativity in the marketplace to come, basically as an answer.
Mm-hmm. Are you still there, Carrie? Okay, well, we've lost Carrie. Hopefully we'll get a call back shortly. But I think it's really interesting what she was talking about in the comparison or addressing the need through the Alternative Care Act and how that applies toward the concept of doing alternative care coverage, complementary and alternative medicine being covered, and having the option to go that route in conventional coverage. And yet there are now other approaches that include green insurance and this development of insurance that is fitting the need for alternative care and fitting the bill for the ACA. And here we have her back. Just a second. I guess we lost you there for a little bit. But
yeah, sorry, I was talking. I I didn't even realize the phone had dropped on my phone.
No worries. So, okay, so not to interrupt any more than that little interruption did, but the ACA, one of the things that I was actually getting a little political locally on this issue. The ACA was, defined to include all licensed forms of medicine throughout the country, right? And there is a clause in there, or at least part of that act that states that no form of medical care licensed in any state can be denied coverage, right? That's one of the things, yet it is denied coverage. And that's because it was left in the hands of each individual state's governor to oversee. And so, like in Florida, we have Governor Rick Scott, who's well invested in conventional medicine, in HCA as an organization, and so on, or his wife is anyway. And so they're very conventionally oriented, and so it becomes more difficult to have that incorporated in this coverage. So just a little aspect that I've dealt with in the past.
Glad to know that information. I didn't know that aspect of it, but that's definitely skews it. And I would just say the answer that insurance provided is they limit it to 12 visits or to $1,000 is what most of the policies I'm aware of that have done.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's conventional policies, right? Okay.
Right, conventional policies, yes.
All right.
When it comes to natural medicine.
Yeah.
So they just throttled it down so much that really they just kind of pacified the alternative community, but they didn't answer the need. That's really what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, all right, let's see. I'm looking something up, but why don't you continue where you left off, if you can remember, and get yourself back to that.
Well, I'm not for sure what did you hear last? I'm not for sure what that was.
Let's see. We were talking, or you were talking about the Affordable Care Act, and trying to finding out that they weren't really gung-ho on the idea when you presented it to them.
Oh, yes, right. So I guess I would just say this. I'm not for sure where I left off, but the bottom line is the Affordable Care Act provided a back door out of it. And that was when I found that back door is when I realized that green insurance was not just about an ancillary insurance product any longer. It was going to be a movement, and we were going to really launch a revolution with all of this, because we were going to create 21st century healthcare, which is what has been grotesquely past due. The 20th century has been ruled by big pharma and the good old boy politics that we're all part of that.
Right.
But now we have this wonderful tool called the internet, and we're able to connect to people and through social media, et cetera, and we're more united than ever when it comes to creating solutions and movements. So this is what we feel is the real future of all of this, is the people movement. And so what we're doing is using, through Obamacare, certifications that were issued to select organizations. Actually, it's just a handful that have the right, or they're the certificate holder of the exemption for their members. So that's how basically the exemption works. So what we're doing right now is we're working with one community in particular. We do have another community that we are creating, or working with to create another product with, and that's called Alternacare will be when we release that. But right now, with free insurance, what we're doing is we see ourselves as two things. First of all, we're the light in the darkness, and secondly, we're the magnet to draw the right kind of like-minded people to something that is serving a need that has never been served or never been met for millions of people who want primary care, natural medicine, instead of the way the system is doing really no health care whatsoever naturally.
The conventional system, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the model of my practice is primary care natural medicine. So that's a great sync with my practice as well. So tell us a little bit about the plans themselves. Let's throw some details out there. So you have various plans to cover various needs or various wants as well.
Yeah, well, basically, let me just kind of, what we're trying to do, this is a very complicated topic, and we all know that because there's as many different scenarios practically as there are people. So what we're trying to do is distill down and simplify as much as possible something that is very confusing to most people, and to make it more conducive to the people that are, that are in need of solutions. So what we did, first of all, is create a community, and that's what free insurance is. We're the community that is attracting this like-minded community group of people whose needs are not being met. Then what we have done is we have created an alliance of co-ops that basically serve, they're nonprofits that serve the needs that we are not as a community yet able to do. And that is, we have a relationship with an organization whose existence in what's called cost sharing has been in operation for about 30 years. It has the Obamacare exemption, so everyone who joins us has access to this exemption certification. And what our original pitch to them was that they had been just doing conventional medicine in this community that they had in existence and had been successfully operating, as you can see, for 30 years. And so what we did was just presented the fact that alternative medicine deals with cause and it doesn't treat symptoms. So if perhaps long-term we can do one of two things, either hold down the cost of healthcare and or possibly even reduce the cost, everyone in this community could be benefited. So they took it to a member vote and they said we've got a 94% approval. So that is how we got started with this relationship. What we did was we said we have a body of research. We've got over 40 modalities, and that I consider it to be a comprehensive, not a conclusive list. It's always growing. Over 40 modalities of natural medicine that are evidence-based, science-proven. They have delivered results, and they do so cost-effectively. And so this is where the foundation of what we're doing is about, because of the fact that really that's what people want. They want results. They don't want to have their lives surrounded by, having to be treating illness or treating disease,
Sick care.
especially with prescriptions.
Yeah, what I would call and many call sick care.
Sick care, right. Well, I have another term for it. I call it wealth care. And it's really how
Yeah.
the majority have made the few very well.
Right. Yeah.
That's really what the system was designed for.
Right.
That's exactly. People call it broken, but the truth of the matter is it's not broken at all because it's doing exactly what it was created to do. And that's why people are leaving it, because they're tired of having big pharma in their pocket, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's not just
basically how we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a combination of AMA and big pharma, really, kind of
Yes, it is.
working together, and the FDA. So
Yes, absolutely. Well, they're all, it's a collusion. There's no doubt about it. And we don't need to talk about it now, this conversation, but we definitely know that we're not going to change the system.
Mhm.
But what we can do is invest in the change we want to see. And that's really what our message in Green Insurance is about, is that, people want answers, but what you have to realize is it's not going to come from politics. It's all compromised, and it's sure not going to come from industries that vested interest is to make sure that the system continues. The only way that we're going to create change is if we, as the people who want change, do it. And it's a movement that's been done many, many times in the past. It's a formula that works, and it's a formula that was going to work again. That's what we're leaving here.
wonderful. Yeah. So let's go ahead and break it down a little bit in terms of the the plan selections that you have available and what they cover and that kind of thing.
Okay, well, so let me just kind of back up for just a second.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're doing an alternative to health insurance. So what I mean by that is it works similar to health insurance, but it's not health insurance. So we have to always make sure people understand this is not, it's not health insurance. That's why we have even a different vocabulary, because we're not regulated by insurance and we don't want regulated by insurance. So we are a self-funded community. People would consider that self-insurance, so we're self-funded. And basically what we have is our program that we've developed gives people access to $1 million in health care, and it gives them the option or the choice to choose whichever modality that they want in their health care needs. So obviously there is a tremendous need for conventional medicine at times, but many of the issues, and this is one of the things that the statistics bear out, is that disease can be prevented with natural medicine. So this is what our focus is to give people what we call unlimited natural medicine, and by that we mean you're going to get well way before $1 million is exhausted on your health care. So that's really what it boils down to, is how we self-fund something, a direction that insurance won't, because insurance has a vested interest in not. And we feel as a community that is, self-interest, not public interest. So this is about creating the solutions that people have been ignored by the system for decades. And so basically what it comes down to is people join for insurance as a member benefit. We kind of view ourselves as like the Costco of this conversation. So you join as a member, which is $20 a month. You pay a one-time enrollment fee, which is a processing to have your health questionnaire evaluated, which is $160. Then you pay monthly into the co-op, which is how the healthcare is funded, how we fund each other's healthcare costs, I should say. And before those benefits begin, you have an out-of-pocket. So just like a deductible. And it's a formula that's very similar to insurance, except for the fact that we pay our member fees up front versus large premiums on the backside, which is what, right now I'm getting reports of anywhere from 35 to 90% is what the states are going through in increase in Obamacare rates. So it's a time that's creating a lot of conversation with a lot of people. And our phones are ringing off the hook every day because of it now.
That's great. Yeah, you've obviously, you've been involved in what could be called a movement at this point, right? In changing this. So, did you look at other models of coverage to come up with this plan? Like, were there some guideline models or paradigms that you incorporated into it?
Yes, actually there is, and that's what. Well, basically, when we were able to take the existing model, which was cost sharing based on conventional medicine, and integrate this with natural medicine, giving people access to that entire industry as far as without limits, like the conventional system does. And when I say without limits, I'm going to asterisk it and say that there are limits when it comes to chiropractic, for example, unless there is a medical necessity, and those are co-op approved. But for the most part, we are not seeing limits yet. Now, I did get word that the co-op is limiting people. Right now, they have excluded people who have back injuries. There apparently have more than enough people that have back issues that they are now excluding back injuries. But so far, that's the only limit we've seen put on this. But that's why we have other co-ops, another co-op that we are going to be building a separate program with, which is what Alternate Care is. And we haven't talked about that, but we will. take existing models that are working and to integrate them with a whole fresh approach and to really create a better system for them. So yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, all right. So you have these two approaches that you're using. One's the green insurance, which is a cooperative, basically, and you have Alternacare that you're developing.
Right.
Right. Okay. And you're saying that the Alternacare would incorporate the back injuries, whereas the green insurance is at least limiting that, if not covering it at this point.
Well, what I'm saying is, right, the community that is our third-party administrator for green insurance for the community, this is the word I just received yesterday, that they are no longer accepting people with back injuries. So, you know, but we have another co-op that we're working with, developing a new program, and so, you know, it'll be hopefully to still fill a need that people have, because obviously, you know, back injuries clearly can be mitigated in a cost-effective way if we're, again, focusing on natural medicine. Things
Absolutely.
like PMS maps, you know, anyways, there's other ways of doing this, and you know, we're going to be looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. With back injuries, you may not be surprised to hear that the highest paid doctors are the ones who are back surgeons. The average income is about $800,000 a year, and the funny thing is, the majority of back surgery is not really successful. So
Right.
it's quite
Exactly.
a vacuum there of funds,
Yeah.
and so I can understand why they would be putting the damper on that part, for sure. And certainly acupuncture and massage therapy, in fact, are shown in the research to be very effective for back issues. And the majority of back issues can be treated naturally without any sort of invasive intervention at all.
Right.
And then what I try to refer for when it comes to the necessity for back surgery is a very least invasive approach. You know, such as laser spine surgery, that kind of thing, where they just do a very small slice. They don't tear off all the muscle and tear off, you know, and invade the nerves and all this kind of thing, causing huge amounts of damage, which is the standard approach right now. But to do the least invasive approach, and that way you come out with a much better result. So if there were more focus on that, even conventionally, then we might have better results there as well. But I can see why the back surgery issue or back pain issues, back problems would be a big bugaboo for you. That'd be difficult. But yes, we just need to redirect the focus on natural and alternative care because it works very well. The research bears it out. It helps tremendously, and there's so many better approaches than the conventional approaches. You know.
Right. Well, and this is why, you know, green insurance basically our community right now. This is our infancy, but our vision is what Alternacare is going to be about, and it's really how once we have the resources that we're working on right now, raising through crowdfunding, et cetera, and so forth, that we'll be doing is that we can have a greater impetus in what our members will be dealing with. Instead of having the co-op tell us, we'll be able to basically be self-funded ourselves, and then we'll be able to, you know, help people with things like emotional clearing for back injury or back problems, and you know, things of that nature
Absolutely.
To be able to really find that so many things that are treated with a shotgun approach could be greatly mitigated and greatly reduced, you know, but obviously for certain people, but obviously the most effective. And this is the humanitarian work that I've been involved with, and why I'm doing this, because of the fact that I have seen very few, I mean, obviously the alternative practitioners I see it with, and I'm so thankful to have, all of them, including yourself, involved in this. But, there's been no advocacy for people. It's been taken from them, and people are just basically kind of like sheep led to the slaughter when it comes to this. And when you look at the number one cause of bankruptcy, it's medical debt, and so that's among the insured and the uninsured. So, I mean, clearly, the people have been the casualty in all of this, and it's just high time that somebody cares enough to do something about it, and that's really what I feel my role in all this is. I feel like when you're given a second chance at life, it changes you in a way that you see things differently, and it's something that I think people are ready for. I think when the people are ready, I think the message arrives, and I feel like that's where we are.
Absolutely. And there are so many issues. I mean, I'm a strong believer in integrative medicine, as I can tell you are too. When it comes to the conventional approach, the acute care, emergency care is absolutely the right application for it. Although there are emergency treatments and therapies available, certainly the conventional medicine, that's its bailiwick. But when we come to the chronic care, that's where it really doesn't suffice. It really is not doing the best job for the people. And we're not really taking care of the patients well, treating chronic disease with poison, basically.
Exactly. Well, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, continuing.
It's patent protection. It's maximum market penetration. I mean, I can give you the verbiage that Big Pharma uses because I've had access to their confidential court documents, and I know what they're doing. But yeah, it has nothing to do with that stockholders and et cetera, private investors. But it's not about the people. The people are the casualty in this.
Absolutely.
And they've been strong-armed. I mean, that's really what the penalty is about now. It's about strong-arming people into cooperation, and it's fear-based. Making them afraid of the consequences. Yeah.
Yes. So I've had a lot of patients. I've had a lot of patients come to me telling them that their conventional doctor basically tried to scare them, into doing what they wanted them to do. And I'm not saying this is true for all of them. I mean, I know there are a lot of caring individuals who get into this field for all the right reasons, into medicine for all the right reasons, but there are some out there that just operate on this as their model, it's not a good thing. So there are various plans available on your website, correct?
Well, basically we have one program, but it has to do with basically the cost vary based on the age and the family. So whether it's a single person, whether it's a couple, whether it's a family, whether it's a single parent with children, it's children only. So those are the variables that you see, but it's actually just one program for everybody. That's what we have right now.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's the early version at this point.
Yes,
and then you're developing the alternate care as we speak, kind of thing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And there are a lot of interesting conversations we could be having about all of these issues that we brought up here, and some people may not be totally aware of all of the aspects that, I mean, you've enlightened me a little bit today on some of it I didn't know about, but in terms of the actual, full-blown efforts of the pharmaceutical companies and the AMA and so on to just, have this kind of groupthink programming going on in our society to accept this quick fix approach as the only way. And the most frustrating statement I hear back from patients, especially patients who come to me, and some of them in real desperation and sometimes very far along in something that's very difficult to treat, is there's nothing more we can do for you.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing more we can do for you. But they don't say anything more than that. They don't say you should seek alternative approaches. You should try some, there are other approaches that may work, because they're going with this philosophy that the only medicine is drugs and surgery. You know what I mean? And they want people to think that. That goes with the program, So
exactly. Well, I call it's one-dimensional thinking.
For sure. I use the same term. Absolutely. Absolutely, all the time.
But we're not one-dimensional people. Those are what you draw on paper. That's one-dimensional. We're not. We're multi-dimensional, and our healthcare needs to match us, and it needs to be personalized instead of it being this shotgun approach where it's the same protocols for everyone. And you're just kind of like herded through the system.
Absolutely.
And once you get to the point where, we've tried all the things, and you're beyond health, basically making you feel like you're doomed for this life of misery and whatever circumstance the person deals with. There's a bright hope outside of the scope of what conventional medicine can do.
And hopefully we're raising.
It has a great place, but it's not here in health and wellness. It's not in prevention. It's definitely not in reversal. That's what we see.
Mm-hmm. So we are we're working on the right stuff here, and hopefully we can spread the word more and more, and that's what we're trying to do today. And help people understand what can be done, and that there are ways that we can help people accomplish what they're looking to accomplish within the scope of complementary and alternative medicine, as it's known in the U.S. at least. But they are encouraged to go that route if that's what they desire. And the difficulty has been historically that conventional insurance wouldn't cover most of what they would try to do. And so now we have other options available for them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's just high time. Really what the truth of the matter is, the system is set up to create circumstances so that people, because most people work for a living, most people's paycheck is directly affected by their ability to show up. What most people don't understand when they don't have a problem is that they don't understand that the future has nothing to do with the past. Just because you haven't had a problem doesn't mean you're not going to have a problem. And just because you're not aware that you have a problem doesn't mean one isn't existing already.
Absolutely.
As an example, with my cancer, cancer, according to experts like Bert Goldberg, can be growing for 10 to 15 years before it's even diagnosed.
Absolutely.
So, there you have it.
And that brings to mind something. That brings something to mind here, and that is the thermography, and that is something that will be covered through.
Yes, it's included.
Yes,
absolutely.
And thermography,
is amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that is a way of tracking the process, the physiology behind the process as it's ongoing, and actually seeing it developing, as opposed to this snapshot anatomy shot from an X-ray or a mammogram or something like that. That actually adds to the problem.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's what it was designed to do. Just as an example, Obamacare called colonoscopies and mammographies prevention.
Yes.
But if you look at it, actually what it is it's the way to get you in the system faster, because it's early detection. Prevents nothing. In fact, what it does is it exposes you to more likelihood that it's going to occur, especially when it comes to mammography.
That's right.
So yes, and that's why it has zero chance of or incidence with thermography, because you're only using heat instead of radiation to basically see what's going on internally in the body.
Yeah, and you're not applying the heat; you're sensing the heat. That's different.
Exactly.
It's non-invasive entirely.
Not applying it, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And did you see the study?
You're not bombing people and expecting no consequence for that.
Did you see the study, Carrie? There was this huge study that I haven't seen anything on in any magazine, anywhere in the U.S. It was done in Canada, and of course that automatically, when the U.S. people look at studies done outside the U.S., they're discounted, you know. But did you see this huge study back? It came out, I think, February of 2014, done in Canada. 90,000 women, a 25-year longitudinal study of mammography. And
No, I did not.
yeah,
Sounds interesting.
and the conclusion included the statement that there was really no difference in efficacy between mammography and self-exam, except that
Oh, wow.
mammography may contribute to over-treatment.
Right. There you have it.
Right.
Well, you know, you look at the business model of conventional cancer treatments, and it's extremely profitable. You know, thousands of dollars per treatment, and then, you know, many treatments later. So I believe the last I heard has been, the most recent I've heard, let me restate that, is about $350,000 for a full course of, you know, multiple sessions of chemoradiation treatment in the conventional model. So yeah, that's very profitable, but the likelihood of long-term survival is in the single digits.
Right.
So if you look at something like using the analogy of Russian roulette, you know, in Russian roulette, you have a 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 chance of survival, right? Because that's how many calibers are in a pistol. But when you're talking about long-term survival with conventional medicine, its approach of chemo radiation, it's 1 in 3 immediately, right? So more people are dying from the treatment than they're dying from the disease. And long-term, as I mentioned, it's single digits. So I mean, I don't know many people that want to play Russian roulette, and that's what they're doing with their health care, because that's what the system forces people into by financially abandoning them. And even if you don't want to go this way, this is what I try to help people understand. You can't base the future on the past. So therefore, just because nothing has happened doesn't mean nothing will happen. And what you need to do is you need to have a plan in place so that and I'm saying a plan of action in place, so that when or if something should happen, statistics say that it's going to, because it says 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will have cancer in their life, and it also says, according to the World Health Organization, that there will be a 70% increase in the next 20 years, and if you look at GMO exposure, you'll understand where those numbers are coming from. But anyways, what we're just basically saying is that most people think, well, I can afford this. You know, if they say, well, I'm paying for this out of pocket, I can afford that. Well, what happens when a health crisis meets is manifested and it meets a financial crisis? And this is where, if you don't have something in preparation before that happens, which is what we're doing with this co-op, that you basically cannot purchase car insurance after you get into an accident. You cannot have the co-op's help if you wait till something drastic has been diagnosed. So this is why we're encouraging people, be proactive. Don't wait till something bad happens and then have no other financial solution other than self-funding, because most people don't have the financial wherewithal to self-fund when it comes to catastrophic issues. And that's why when we use the co-op approach, we take the risk and the responsibility off of the person, and we're sharing it with the community. And that's why it's called the law of large numbers. In a community situation, not everyone's going to have the same problems at the same time. Therefore, more people are paying in than are drawing from, and that's how we stay financially solvent. And that's the model that's been working for decades. Absolutely,
yeah, I'm familiar with that. That's great. So yeah, there's so many examples I could get into. You know, you're talking about the costs of conventional approaches versus natural. For example, we have in my office a pretty close to 100% success rate on pregnancy, for infertility for couples, and you know, the chances of IVF working are about 1 in 5 or less, and the chances that I just quoted to you that I've seen for my approach anyway have been near 100%. The cost is about 1/10 of what IVF would cost one time, you know. So that's another example that comes to my mind just from my experience.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you know, and it's just over and over again. The cost, the benefit you would think to the insurance companies would be there, as we were discussing earlier, but they're caught up in this system. So.
Yeah. Well, I will just say that the simplest analogy I can give is that full dogs don't hunt.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Right. So why would they change when they're making trillions?
Right.
That's what we're talking about. That's the healthcare industry. When you're, excuse me, the health insurance industry, when you're making trillions, why would you change that model?
Absolutely.
You know, well, it lacks good reason on every front. The bottom line is always the bottom line, right?
Yes.
And so we're here to say is, when does the bottom line become about the people instead of about the profit?
Right.
And we believe that there are a lot of people that equally share our feelings. So this is why we're here to say, you know, join us. I mean, we can't approve everyone because you have to help qualify, and this is something that, you know, this won't be a fit for everyone in every circumstance, but for people who are investing in health and wellness, who are eating organic, who are passionately determined to have the optimum of health and wellness in their lives, these are the people that we want to bring to our community. And we are going to change, and we'll be the model that others are going to look at and wish they had, you know, taken part of many years later. So.
Okay. So it sounds great. Can you give us a summary of how people can get in touch or get set up?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we have all of our information on our website, which is My Green Insurance. So, or you can type in even mygreeninsurance.com or .org. But anyways, we're not health insurance, so we just want to make sure people understand that we are a replacement health insurance. So yes, and we actually have our website provides a lot of information, and we have a number or email. People can set appointments. They can contact us. We're happy to answer questions that people have, because oftentimes people want to know specifics, you know, about their situation. And while we can't answer everything, we do answer most things, because what it comes down to is you have to become part of our community to have access to the evaluation process, so that you'll know whether you help qualify or not. And so anyways, there is that process. But what we say is, if you want change, you have to invest in the change you want to see. And regardless of what happens, whether it's a person, worst case scenario, joins our community, and they don't help qualify to join the health program, you're helping make a donation to propel the solutions that have to come from people who want results, and people who see that there is a greater good that we can all do when we take the greed out of this conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, just to clarify one other aspect, it's coverage is throughout the United States. Is that correct?
That's a great question. Yes. Well, this is one of the things that come up, compartmentalizing people in this institutional view of health insurance is doing it. They're making it state specific, or they're making it even region specific within the state. And our co-op includes practitioners in any state, and actually includes what's called medical tourism. So this is a very also cost effective, especially when it comes to major issues like surgery. We can do far more for far less out of the U.S., and that's also what the community will back.
Wonderful. So if somebody makes a trip to Cuba and gets hurt, they can be treated in Cuba and be.
Well, they could be.
All right. For example.
Or if they want to go, let's say that they have cancer and they want to go to the Birdwood Clinic in Spain, or they want to go to the Gerson Clinic in Mexico, they can do those things.
Wonderful.
Just as an example. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you, Carrie. I appreciate you being on the show with me today. And we'll be talking further.
And I look forward to having further conversations on this topic.
Absolutely. All right. Take care now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And you're on? Yeah, still.
All right, so sorry about that. This is Dr. Christopher Jackson, PhD, DO in Florida. You've been listening to A Path to Wellness on rhinoonair.com, WSPF-DB.com. And if you'd like to reach our practice and find out more about the kinds of things we do in natural and holistic medicine, you can look us up at www.aptw.net, short for A Path to Wellness, and that is .net, so aptw.net. And the phone number is 727-329-9637, and we are located in Northeast St. Petersburg, Florida. So make a trip to Florida, come see us.
See you next
We'll
week.
talk to you next time.